What's going on, everybody? We made it. We made it. We've officially arrived at championship week. Um, for those of you who maybe play your week 18 championships, get your commish to change that shit. um, we are not going to be live next weekend. We suspect that most, if not all, championships, all fantasy leagues will be wrapped up after Monday Night Football tomorrow night between the Bengals and the Bills. At which point champions will have been crowned in nearly all leagues. So, with that said, welcome to the final weekend stream of the 2022 season. I know it's now 2023 officially. Of course, Happy New Year, everybody. Hope your festivities this weekend have been fun, or maybe you're still got something going on today. Um, Hopefully, it's been a good time. Enjoy safely, but of course, have fun as well. But this will be the final stream, the final weekend stream of the season as we gear up for championship week in just a couple of hours here, less than a couple hours now. Um, Anything's on the table, guys. As always, you already know. Um, if you want to, maybe you joined us last night. If you want to talk through any last minute thoughts about your lineup before your matchup this week or today, we can do that. We can talk. We can talk rookies. If there's anything specific you want to talk about the incoming class, if you are going to be, if you are a dynasty junkie, I will of course be around in the off season, not going anywhere. Next week will be a bit of a little R&R for the channel after after the now that the fantasy season is wrapping up this weekend. We'll be around for the NFL playoffs as well. If anybody does DFS contests or maybe you do playoff contests, some people might do playoff best ball, depending on where you live. If you have Underdog Fantasy, if you have the Underdog Fantasy app, you can draft playoff lineups, you can draft playoff teams. So, you know, anything's on the table for the NFL playoffs as well. If you play DFS, we can get into the nitty gritty there as well. But this will be the final stream of the or final weekend stream, excuse me, of the 2022 season as we wind down, uh, capping it off, of course, with championship week. Um, so we went over a lot of the most recent status updates last night. No need to rehash those. I think the biggest thing that I've seen that I originally thought looked like was it looked like Chris Olave was going to miss Week 17. He's now expected to play today. Um, Not to mention sticking with the Saints, Marshawn Lattimore is expected to play today. So reinforcements for the Saints, just in time, I guess, for the season with their season pretty much on the brink, going up against Philly today. A couple other updates. Christian Watson's going to test his hip pregame before Week 17, so we got to be careful on that one. Ramondre Stevenson expected to play. Tyler Higbee is expected to play. We already know Jalen Hurts is out today, but could be available next week. That doesn't matter for fantasy purposes. In one quarterback redraft leagues, if you need the roster spot, if you don't have the IR spot, if your season wraps up this weekend, you can safely drop Jalen Hurts if you need a quarterback. You can also drop DeAndre Hopkins if you need to. Hell, you drop Derek. This is that time of year, right? Anybody can be dropped. If your championship is this week, if you have Derrick Henry sitting on your bench from the Thursday game, you can drop Derrick Henry. Drop whoever you need to make the necessary pickups to fill out your lineup. There's no reason to hold those guys. No reason to hold those guys. Hey, Joe, I appreciate that very much. That was very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Appreciate the super. That's much appreciated. Congrats on being in the championship. That's awesome. Happy to hear that. Happy to hear we got some people playing for championships today. That's what it's all about, right? Well, let's go ahead and get into this, and then the rest of the chat as well. Crumply Heads, Modern Dog, good to see you guys as well. I know you guys were in the chat last night. Appreciate you coming back and hanging out. But Joe, let me get to your super. Thank you again. You got Jarek McKinnon or Donta Foreman. They are both good players. So I would go. Is this full? It's half PPR. I would go McKinnon, Joe. In any type of PPR format in this situation, I'll go McKinnon. Um, what I guess I haven't heard anything whatsoever about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which leads me to believe is he even? I don't even think he's been activated to practice. Yeah, no, he's still comfortably on an injured reserve. So this is very much still Pacheco and McKinnon. Um, McKinnon is on a tear. He's not going to get 30 half PPR points. That's highly unlikely, but he's on a great stretch recently, and there's nothing scary about the Denver Broncos officially. They've had a good defense all season long. I think they've been top five in I think they're top five in DVOA. They have been. That's probably since slipped in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Bradley Chubb is no longer in the picture, and they just got 51 points dropped on them by Baker Mayfield last week on Christmas Eve. So I have no faith in the Denver Broncos. And now they're on the road again against the Chiefs, a far superior team with the Broncos season in the toilet. Like, they're not playing for anything. They've got nothing. They're one of the teams. Them, the Colts, and the Raiders are the three teams that they're trying to sneak into the offseason without anybody noticing how terrible they were. Well, too late on that. You worry about those types of teams laying down and kind of just rolling over. I worry about these teams at the end of the season where they have absolutely nothing to play for. They had preseason expectations of competing for, at the very least, making a solid playoff run, at the very least. And now you're sitting at like 4-10 or 4-11. Your season is dead. You've got nothing going for you, and everything looks like it's spiraling out. I would play McKinnon. Whereas Foreman did well against the Bucks in their first matchup of the season. I think it might have been, was it the first game after the Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey? And Foreman had 100 rushing yards. I don't remember if he scored, but I know he went over 100 rushing yards. He had a really good game. It's a different story, I think, on the road in Tampa. Now you're in Tampa. And the Panthers, didn't they win that first matchup? I feel like they did. I feel like they won that first matchup. I'm going to double check this really quick. So that would play into the revenge game narrative. It's still, yeah, they did 21-3. They boat raced them. Yeah, he had 118 rushing yards. Foreman did, and he caught 2 balls for 27 yards. This was in the first matchup against Tampa Bay. Could be a different ball game on the road. It's already a bad matchup anyway. The Bucs are very good against the run. Now Carolina's been running it very well to their own credit, but a lot of that has been Chuba Hubbard mixing in as well. It's not just Foreman. And Foreman came through last week. Came through big time last week. 165 and a touchdown. But, we've seen Foreman be highly volatile in bad matchups. In bad matchups by the numbers. On the road in Cincinnati, 7 carries for 23 yards. On the road in Baltimore, bad matchup, 11 carries, 24 yards. At home against Pittsburgh just 2 weeks ago, 10 carries for 9 yards. So the game against the Lions, who also have a good run defense, was a bit of an outlier for Foreman. I think he should be okay, but I feel safer with McKinnon, Joe, especially in half PPR. Let me get his receiving splits over the past few weeks. I know he's been absolutely bonkers for a couple of weeks. Last week, not as much, but still, giving you 3 catches for 31 yards and a touchdown, 8 catches, 7 catches the past 2 weeks, has scored a touchdown in 4 straight games, has caught at least 3 balls or a touchdown in the past 5 games. Huge involvement this year. He's got 2 other games earlier in the season where he's caught at least 6 passes. That is production that I want to bank on in championship week in half PPR. I want a pass catching running back with a strong role in my lineup if I can find a way. McKinnon fits that bill. Um, McKinnon against a dead Denver defense, not really playing for anything. Kansas City's looking to stay in contention for the number 1 seed. I want McKinnon, Joe. I want McKinnon over Foreman. Foreman could deliver, but based on the prior poor matchups on the road in on his schedule, he has not done well. So I can do nothing but follow that trend. I'm going to stick with McKinnon. I want to play it. And again, I know the Panthers ran the ball very well last week, but in a vacuum, I want a guy attached to Patrick Mahomes over a guy attached to Sam Darnold, especially when Sam Darnold is on the road against Tom Brady. Yeah, I'll go with McKinnon. But thank you, Joe, so much for the super. Much appreciated. That was very kind. Um, so yeah, I'll go McKinnon. Back to the top. Crumply heads, what's going on? Hollywood or Dortch? Uh yeah, see, I mean, Dortch is the trendy guy this week, but we still obviously expect Hollywood to operate as the number 1 with Hopkins out. I think with them being on the same team, we know what Hollywood comes with. He's got big play upside. He's probably going to operate as their number 1 wide receiver. Dortch is going to be a starter for them today. Obviously, no Hopkins, no Rondale Moore. But we don't have anything to go off of as far as like, oh, David Blau's been in there for 3 weeks and Dortch has 20 targets and Hollywood has 10. Like, we don't have something like that to go off of, right? There's no trend with David Blau with the Arizona Cardinals that we can lean on and be like, oh yeah, you need to sit Hollywood for Dortch. So with that said, as enticing as Dortch is today, if I got to make a choice here, I'm going to roll the dice on Hollywood. It doesn't feel great. We're down to our 4th quarterback in Arizona. So I know it doesn't feel very good, but even last week Hollywood wasn't spectacular, but 3 catches for 57 yards on 6 targets. He had 8 targets the past 2 weeks in each of the prior 2 weeks prior to last week. I mean, it's been a little gross, but the opportunities are there. The opportunities are there. And so I think I got to go with Hollywood. In a vacuum, I just got to take the dude who is penciled in as the team's wide receiver 1. And remember, with Hopkins in the lineup last week, he didn't do anything. He had 1 catch for 4 yards, but he had 10 targets. So 10 of those targets, you got to think at least 5 of them are going to Hollywood. At least 5 of those vacated targets are going to Hollywood. So I would say he's the best bet to see 10 targets in that offense today, Hollywood. So I'll go Hollywood over Dortch. And Modern Dog, it looks like Stevenson's going to play. I think you can comfortably fire him up. Hopefully there's a 3rd place payout. I have 3rd place payouts in my leagues. So yeah, obviously still something to play for. It's been like a contentious subject in my leagues. There are people with some strong opinions about 3rd place payouts, which I don't quite understand. If you made the 3rd place game, you had a good regular season. You had to have a good season to get there in these meaningful games. You either had a bye week or you won a playoff game, which means you earned the right to play an important game. Like the 3rd place game in real major tournaments is still celebrated. Look at the World Cup that just happened. There's 1 day dedicated to the 3rd place match, and the winner of that game gets they get like medals and shit. Like they get recognized for a great tournament. I don't understand why there's people who I've had multiple people in my leagues like they don't think there should be a 3rd place payout. At this point, I ignore them. Like no disrespect, but like third place should get a payout. So hopefully you're playing for some cash, Mario, or at least your buy-in back. That's how it should be. The tournament, like the your DFS stuff does that as well. FanDuel, DraftKings, Underdog, they all there's payouts for, especially if you join like larger tournaments. There's payouts for people in the top 150, depending on the size of the tournament. So yeah, hopefully there's something to play. Hopefully there's some cash to play for. But you can safely fire up Stevenson. It looks like he's expected to play. Looks like he's expected to go. And as far as Jones or Dillon, Dillon's the one that's on a recent heater, but I can't sit Aaron Jones. If you know me by this point, you know I have a mini love affair with Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. I will always back Aaron Jones. He's been an RB1 for what, 3 or 4 straight years? Now, he's the days of him finishing as a top 5 running back might be done. He has an RB5 finish and an RB2 finish to his credit on the season as a whole, but he's still a low end RB1. The results are there more often than they're not. I know at home in Lambeau, I've been spewing this narrative all since dating back to the offseason. AJ Dillon in Lambeau, when it gets cold out, you want to rely on him. But I got to go with the guy who's the actual starter, the guy who's probably got a higher floor for pass catching work. It's Aaron Jones. I got to go Aaron Jones. I can't sit him. He's the starter. He's a proven RB1 for the past couple of years. He doesn't look like he's slowed down at all this season. He is getting a little older. I think he's going to be 28 next year. So, of course, we're starting to hit that. Unfortunately, we're hitting that age for running backs where you start to wonder about them. I got to go Aaron Jones. I got to go Aaron Jones. As far as the defense, Dolphins, Falcons, Chargers, or Seahawks. Seattle gets the Jets at home. That might not be a bad play, although they're really bad on the ground. Or their run defense is not good. Their pass defense is solid. The Chargers get the Rams. That could be good. The Falcons are a difficult unit to trust, but they do get a favorable matchup against Arizona and their 4th string quarterback. The Dolphins are on the road in New England. For some reason, I'm not crazy about that one. If the Giants are no longer available, which I have to imagine they're not available, the Chargers, I guess, are playing pretty well. Can they improve their seeding? They can't win the AFC West. That's over. I have to double check the playoff picture here. I want to see if is there any incentive for the Chargers to try to move up? And I bring this up. I ask this question because you have to factor in will they rest guys? Will the Chargers start sitting guys like veterans like Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, who's only just coming back from surgery? They're key cogs on defense. They are currently the 6th seed. I guess they could technically leapfrog. They could technically leapfrog the Ravens, but they don't. They can't move up that much farther. The Chargers. They're going to be a wild card team. They're going to be playing their games on the road. They probably what they do want to do. I mean, Kansas City's not losing to Denver today. They might want to avoid the 6th seed. They may want to come up to the 5 seed. Yeah, okay. The Chargers are going to be motivated to win because if they can get up to the 5 seed, then that means they're going to play the winner of the AFC South, which now looks like it's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. And no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence, but if you could play Trevor Lawrence as opposed to playing Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in your first playoff game, you're going to look to do that. You're going to look to avoid that first matchup. You'll play those guys when you have no other choice, when you have to play them. So the Chargers are going to be motivated. It's kind of like a weird, it's one of those like it's like the Giants and the Jets are playing in MetLife. The Chargers and the Rams share SoFi. I guess it's going to be a Rams play. Like I don't even know what that crowd is going to look like today in LA because the thing with the when the Rams and the Chargers play, it's a home game for the road team. Now you got both of them playing and nobody in LA cares about them. There's going to be like 1,000 fans at that game, and half of them are going to be wearing jerseys of other teams. So there's no like home field. As far as I'm concerned, there's no home field advantage for the Rams today. Um, um, it's either the Chargers or the Seahawks for me, crumply heads. I guess, I guess the Chargers don't have a great run defense either, and Cam Akers has been playing pretty well. Whereas the Seahawks don't have a good run defense, but the Jets have Zonovan Knight, who has fallen back to earth, Michael Carter, who is a decent player, but not a great player, and Ty Johnson, who is a change of pace, third option there. The Rams are a more the Rams are closer to the end of their season though than the Jets are. The Jets are still fighting for a playoff berth. I guess I slightly lean the Chargers, crumply heads. I guess I slightly lean the Chargers. Yeah, I'll take the Chargers. Against the Rams. The Rams got 51 on the Broncos last week, but the Chargers are playing for something. The Chargers aren't going to they're not letting the Rams score 51. They could have some issues containing Cam Akers. Their run defense hasn't been good all year, but they're pretty stingy on the back end. Is Derwin James playing today? That's actually probably a pretty important piece to my suggestion here. Is Derwin James playing? Underdog had updates about him or about a bunch of different players. I know I saw his name yesterday, but I can't remember if he's supposed to go or not. I'm looking. Where is Derwin? Oh, he's ruled out. Damn it. Okay. That makes me like the Chargers a little less since they don't officially have Derwin James. They're probably still in a good spot, but it's either them or the Seahawks. I would tend to lean the Chargers because they're playing a team who's just kind of playing out the string in the Rams. No Derwin James hurts, though. See what happens. Using Nerd, what's going on, Using Nerd? Eddie Pinero, Riley Patterson, or Jason Myers? Patterson's been on a bit of a run recently. He's got double-digit fantasy points, I think, in 3 straight games. Myers gets the Jets at home. He's been decent at home, Myers has. Especially in good matchups, and this is a good matchup. Or it's like a middle of the pack matchup. He's been fine in those. His home games, Jason Myers, 6 points, 11 points, 13 points, 11 points, 10 points, 6 points, 9 points. So he's had a floor this year of 6 points at home, and he's got a ceiling of about 13. So I guess he's a decent bet for, say, anywhere from 8 to 10 points. Myers looks like a safe floor play as far as a kicker goes. Myers is a safe floor play. Patterson maybe has a little bit more upside. Pinero's got double-digit points in 3 straight weeks as well. He's going on the road against Tampa Bay, though, and they're not a good matchup by the numbers. I know Pinero's on a recent stretch of good games. Two of those games were at home. One was against Seattle on the road. Not as bad of a matchup as Tampa. Um, I don't think I would play Pinero. Myers, I think, is a decent floor play for like 8 points, 10 points. Patterson, I think, has a slightly higher ceiling, but um, maybe a little bit more volatile in a division game for Jacksonville. Should get you 8 to 10 points. Patterson could get you 12. He could get you 4 as well. If you need the upside play, I guess I would go Patterson. If you need the upside play, I guess I would go Patterson. So Tober, what's going on, So Tober? If it's full PPR at this point, Ingram should be able to get 16 points. It's going to be a little tougher if it's not. Um, if it's half, even if it's half PPR, it might be a little tougher of a pull to get. But hey, he's on a run. He's on a run and a half over the past month. So sure, I know Schultz caught a touchdown on Thursday night, but that's not a bad bet to take. Probably would have honestly suggested that at the beginning of the week prior anyway. If I had gotten the Schultz or Engram question, I probably would have said Engram prior to Thursday night. So Schultz got the touchdown. It is what it is. Engram's on a recent run, a great stretch. So sure, ride the wave. Let's see what happens. And Joe, you're welcome. Thank you again for the super. Much appreciated. I feel fine going with McKinnon there. And good. I'm glad that there's a third place payout. There should be payouts for third place. All right. So I'm the commission. Way too many leagues. I like lots of payouts. I like lots of payouts. I don't know what you guys do, but this is what I do for my leagues. Obviously, first place gets like half the pot. First place gets the biggest payout. Duh. Second place gets a payout. Third place gets a payout. I also give like $100 to the team with the best record in the regular season. So first place regular season. I also give a payout to the team that scores the most points in the regular season. So, let's say you're one of those teams that has bad luck over the course of the season. Maybe you scored the most points, but you come in like fifth place because you had a lot of unlucky matchups. In my leagues, you'll get a payout for that. You'll get a payout for most points scored in the regular season. So I have 5. There's 5 different ways you can make money. There's 5 different ways to get a payout in leagues that I commission. First place, obviously. Second place, obviously. Third place, regular season first place, and regular season most points scored. I like lots of payouts. So I'm glad to see that there's a third place. There's an opportunity to get some winnings for third place. That's good. So yeah, tell your commish, divvy up that pot. I like lots of payouts. There's more than one way to have a good fantasy season, even if you don't win the whole thing. But obviously, that's what we're trying to do today. George Cook, what's going on, George? Mike Evans or Richie James? Man, we're here, aren't we? I can't bring myself to sit Mike Evans. I know it's been bad. I think he's averaging like more targets and catches this year than like any other season, which feels wild. Problem is he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 4. That is such a strange statistic for Mike Evans. That is such an outlier. I'm just looking at Mike Evans' home games. Week 15 against Cincinnati, 5 for 83. Week 13 against New Orleans, 4 for 59. He also drew a long pass interference in that game where if he gets free, he catches a long bomb for a touchdown. At home against Seattle, 5 for 54, not great. At home against the Rams, 5 for 40, but 11 targets. At home against Baltimore, 6 for 123. That's more like it. And 4 for 81. I'm playing Mike Evans in a home game. If he was on the road in a bad matchup, this might be a different story, George. And I know Richie James is outproducing Mike Evans over the past month. I gotta play Mike Evans. There's nothing scary about this matchup against Carolina. J.C. Horn is out. The Bucs are playing for to win the division. They have to eliminate, or they have to beat the Panthers to stay in pole position to win the NFC South. They're at home. It's a revenge game. I have a hard time believing Mike Evans doesn't have a solid game today. I gotta play Mike Evans. I know Richie James is on a strong recent stretch. If you play Richie James over Mike Evans, that is your own call. And that's, again, I'll say this all the time. And you guys already know this. These are your lineups. These are your teams. At the end of the day, the person who makes the last call is you. I can only give you what I would do or just analysis on your situation. But I can't play Richie James over Mike Evans in a championship game. I gotta play Mike Evans. It's a fair question because Mike Evans has not had a Mike Evans season, and he hasn't scored in like 10 weeks. Whereas Richie James has and has been solid. But I'm playing Mike Evans. He's been pretty good at home. Mike Evans has been pretty solid at home, and today he's at home. And there's nothing scary about the matchup. It's not even a bad matchup. It's a good matchup. I'm playing Mike Evans. As far as Myers or Gano at kicker, so Myers is a decent floor play. He's scored anywhere from 6 to 13 points at home this year. Most of those games are around 9 or 10 points. He's got a floor of 6, and he's got a ceiling of 13. But I only think he only did the 13 once. He's more likely to get 10 points than he is 13 points. Gano's had a good season. At home against the Colts. Gano at home this year. All the way back in week 2, he had 17 against Dallas. He had 15 against Chicago. He had 10. That was weeks 2 through 4. Week 6, he had 6. Week 10, he had 7. Week 11, he goose-egged. He got nothing. That was when the Giants had a very weird game where they kind of got boat raced by the Lions. And then at home against Washington, week 13, 9 points. At home against Philly, 2 points. So Gano's range of outcomes, George, are high. They're more all over the place than Myers. I would say Myers is safer, but in a game where the Giants should handle the Colts, again, the Colts, the Raiders, the Broncos. Those are the 3 teams that are candidates now for this week and next week to just roll over and die. Teams that had playoff aspirations, deep playoff run aspirations at the beginning of the season, and they find themselves here like at the end of it and they're just dead. I'll put the Cleveland Browns in there as well. Like teams with expectations coming into the season, less so though. They obviously didn't have Watson for the first 13 weeks, but teams that came into the season with deep playoff run aspirations that are now sitting at like 4 or 5 wins and their season is in the toilet, those are the candidates to just kind of peter out, right? Which means their opponents can take advantage of them. And a Giants team that can clinch a playoff berth, they can still clinch a playoff berth, they can do it against a dead Indianapolis team, that makes Gano enticing, appealing. Because if they have a lead, they could just be tacking on field goals. They could be tacking on points in the second half. I'll say Myers is your floor play, George, and Gano is a little bit more all or nothing. He could give you 15, but he has games at home where he's scored 2, 3 points. Myers' floor at home this year has been a little safer than that. So it depends on what you need. Depends on what you need. Mako J or Mako J. Probably, I think it's Mako. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Komet or Fryermuth in full PPR. I'll go Fryermuth. I'll go Fryermuth. He's got double digit PPR. And you say full PPR on in your next question, or yeah, oh, it says full PPR right there. I mean, he's got double digit full PPR points in his past 3 games, including a couple weeks ago, a matchup against the Ravens, their opponent today. He had 3 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. Last week, he had 7 catches for 66 yards. He's got at least 3 catches in his past 8 contests, Fryermuth. And he's got at least 4 or 5 targets in all of those games as well. His usage is safe. It's pretty solid. I think I lean Fryermuth as your perfectly safe play. Komet has been a little bit more volatile, although he did explode against the Lions for 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago, and that's his opponent today. Fryermuth is your safe play, and I think that's where I would go. If you think you need big time upside and you need to swing for the fences, then Komet, but Komet's floor is lower. Komet's floor is lower than Fryermuth's. I think Fryermuth is your safe play. As far as Devontae Smith or Christian Watson, I'm going Devontae Smith. He is on an absolute tear, and Watson is a game time call. He's on the injury report. He's a game time decision with the hip injury. Devontae Smith is not on the injury report. And despite Jalen Hurts not playing, he still delivered last week with Gardner Minshew in there. Look at the stretch of games that Devontae Smith has had dating back to week 10. 8 for 113, 5 for 126, 5 for 64, 5 for 102, 4 for 50 is his floor. 6 for 78 and 6 for 39. The 6 for 39 game, he had a touchdown, so a little bit boosted there. Devontae Smith is on an absolute tear. Marshawn Lattimore is back today. He's probably going to be on A.J. Brown. Give me Devontae Smith. I know Christian Watson brings big play upside to the position, but he's on the injury report with a hip injury, and he's not even expected to, he is not yet confirmed to play. He's testing his hip pregame. I'll take the healthy guy. I'll take Devontae Smith, who is on an absolute tear recently. He's on an absolute tear. Best kickers today? Don't the Lions give up lots of points to kickers? Who's the Bears kicker again? I already forget. I guess whoever. Oh my God, who is the Bears kicker? Oh, is it still Santos? Oh no, that's actually not. Sorry, for some reason I thought that was a good matchup. That's not a good matchup. I mean, Nick Folk is probably good today against Miami at home. Um, it's usually frigid conditions in the New England area this time of year. That's not the case. I think kickoff it's going to be around 50 degrees and sunny, so that's pretty ideal weather. As long as there's no wind, Nick Folk is probably going to be pretty good today. I would not trust a guy who's been reliable this year like Daniel Carlson with the switch to Jarrett Stidham and going up against the San Francisco 49ers. I would probably look to avoid that. Younghoe Koo is probably pretty good. He's been rock solid at home. If Younghoe Koo is available, Younghoe Koo is probably a good kicker today. He's pretty solid at home in the dome, and he's going up against a dead Arizona Cardinals team. Younghoe Koo is probably a sneaky good play. He may not be available, but it's a really good matchup. The man averages double-digit points at home this year. Younghoe Koo is probably your best kicker today, as far as like who a guy who could be available, who could be on the waiver wire. If Younghoe Koo is out there, I would roll the dice on Younghoe Koo. Now between him or Nick Folk, just jumping down to just to kind of wrap this thought up here. Koo floor, Folk ceiling. But Koo has been pretty steady in the dome this year. And the Falcons are moving the ball a little bit better with Desmond Ridder in there, believe it or not. The difference for Folk is he is playing, the Patriots are playing for something, the Falcons aren't. So if you're worried about that narrative, then maybe Folk. But I think Koo is going to be Koo is pretty safe in the dome at home. He's pretty safe in the dome at home. Chris, what's going on, Chris? Watson over Dubs or Dortch? Yeah, if he goes. Yes. If he goes, yes. If he doesn't, then I guess you can fire up Dubs. You could just fire up Dubs. It's a great matchup and no Christian Watson. He's going to soak up a ton of targets. Him and Alan Lazard. And he's catching passes from Aaron Rodgers as opposed to Dortch catching passes from David Blau. But if Watson plays, if he's active, if he's ruled in for the game, then yeah, fire him up. Fire him up. Jerry Jeudy is officially active. And then Komet or Andrews. Komet. Seriously. Anybody, guys, honestly, I can't believe we're here, but we're here. Anybody but Andrews. Anybody but Andrews. He's had a terrible season relative to expectations. He has never scored in his career against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Ravens' opponent today. Andrews has never scored against Pittsburgh. Do we expect that trend to remain the same forever? No, but I'm not banking on it changing today on a bad stretch of games played recently with a backup quarterback. Komet over Andrews. Yeah. And as far as the Eagles or the Chiefs defense, those are two good options. You should probably be safe with either one. Both teams are in very similar situations. Philly's looking to lock up the 1 seed today in the NFC. Kansas City's looking to stay in the race for the 1 seed in the AFC. They're playing inferior opponents. The Saints are still alive for the division for the NFC South because of how putrid it is. Denver is dead. Denver's done. It's a broken Russell Wilson on one hand. On the other hand, it's Andy Dalton. The Broncos don't have Greg Dulcich. The Saints will have Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. So I guess the Saints have slightly better weapons. But Philly is the better unit. Philly, top to bottom, the Eagles' defense is a better unit than the Chiefs' defense. Do the Eagles lead the league in sacks? I'm just checking. Who has the most? Yeah, the Eagles have the most. They're averaging 4 a game. Kansas City's averaging 3 a game. That's not too far behind. And then the last 3, they're averaging 6 a game. I think I'm playing the Eagles Chris. I think I'm playing the Eagles. It's two good options. It really is. But I think I'm going to play the defense that has been more consistent this year. They're the superior unit. I know that the Saints have good options in Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. They do. And either one of them could bust off a big play. But at home, Philly's motivated to lock up the 1 seed today. It's not a division game. And for what it's worth, Kansas City does have a bit of a weakness, and it's their secondary. And so that could get exploited a little bit because Denver has decent receivers. I think I'm going to go Philly here. I'll go Philly. They lead the league in sacks. I expect them to be playing with a lead today. I'll take the Eagles. It's two good options, though. What's going on, Derek? Full PPR. You need to Jacobs, Algier, McKinnon, and your flex, Devontae Adams, Christian Watson. I have a very hard time sitting I know his situation is terrible today. I can't sit Josh Jacobs. I know if you might be looking for a reason to sit Josh Jacobs, and I wouldn't blame you. There's probably lots of people they hate the situation. They're looking for a reason to move off of Josh Jacobs. I would not. They are going to continue to feed him the rock. You can probably expect Stidham to dump it off more than a few times, check down, backup quarterback, check down stuff. It's a terrible matchup, but they're at home. Jacobs is gunning for the rushing title. That's something he definitely wants because Jacobs is playing for a new contract, and he's going to want to squeeze every penny out of wherever his new contract is coming from. If he has the rushing title definitively, that's a huge feather in his cap. Who are the NFL rushing leaders outside of him? It's him and Chubb, right? And Derrick Henry. Jacobs has the lead by about 100 yards. He's probably going to get it, but he has to go out and do it these next 2 weeks to finish it off. I have to play Josh Jacobs. He is despite the bad situation, the backup quarterback, the terrible matchup. He leads the league in rushing yards. We have to play Josh Jacobs. We have to play Josh Jacobs. We have to. And as far as your flex, in full PPR, man, I have a hard time sitting Devontae Adams too. He's probably gonna get peppered with targets. And if there's one hole on the 49ers defense, it is their secondary. I look at Devontae Adams. I look at his track record. I look what he has done this season. And while Jarrett Stidham doesn't instill a ton of confidence, he should probably still command 10 to 12 targets, maybe more. I have to play your studs. I know it feels gross. I know it feels gross with the backup quarterback with the bad matchup by the numbers, but I got to play your Raiders, Derek. Algier's on a great run recently. McKinnon's on a great run recently. Christian Watson looks like he's going to be a player for a long time, but I got to play the horses that got you here. I got to play the horses that got you here. I got to play Jacobs. I got to play Devontae Adams. I know it feels like pulling teeth, but I got to do it. If you decide to move off of either one, and again, I'll say this as many times as I need to. These are your teams. These are your rosters. You make the final call. I can only tell you what I think I would do if I were in your situation. Play those guys at your own risk over Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. I got to fire up those Raiders. I have to. What's going on, Tim, Hunter, Chris M? What's going on, guys? I see everybody. I see plenty of questions in the chat. I promise I will get to everybody. Thank you guys for coming in. Good to see y'all. Hopefully it's all championship games, or if it's at least third place games with some type of payout. Congratulations on being here. And of course, Happy New Year to everybody. Hunter, you made it to the big game. That's awesome. ETN or one of Juju or Mike Williams. I gotta play ETN. I gotta play ETN. It's Houston. It's Houston. Are they still the number one team in points allowed to running backs? I don't think anything changed there. It is. They are. I gotta play ETN. I gotta play ETN. Yep. Gotta play ETN. The matchup is too good. He's gonna be involved. Um, I would say he's a pretty. I'm not going to try to predict the future or give you any type of false hope, but I mean, in this matchup at home or on the road, in this matchup against a terrible Texans run defense, where the Jags are playing to stay in contention for the division title, I feel like ETN is a safe bet for a score today, or at least plenty of work. I got to go ETN. Yep, got to go ETN. Do I think Connor and McCaffrey score today? I mean, either one is a pretty safe bet. Connor's got a nose for the end zone. McCaffrey, is gonna eat up chunks and chunks of yards. Um, but if this is for like a parlay, Tim, if you're looking to do some prop bets, I try to for the most part avoid touchdowns because they're so volatile. I'm more likely to go for yardage. Yards are a bit of a safer bet than touchdowns. Touchdowns are random. They're random. And they're less random for the best players in the league because their numbers get called when it's when the team is in a position to score. But at the end of the day, they are still random. So I'd probably, if you're looking to do a parlay for on touchdowns, I would probably look to avoid that. That's just me. Chris, full PPR, Sanders or Chark? Chark is interesting today. Chark's been good 4 out of the past 5 weeks. 4 for 108. He had a dud in week 15 against the Sauce Gardner led Jets secondary. But other than that, week 14, that was a really good matchup. 6 for 94 and a touchdown. 5 for 98 week 13. Only 2 for 16 week 12, but one was a score. He's been pretty good. Sanders, on the other hand, there's nothing scary about the matchup against the Saints. Um, and he's been pretty good in home games this year. Sanders has. He's been pretty good in general. He has had some clunkers. Week 15, he didn't do anything because he didn't really get the ball. Only got 11 carries. Week 16 last week, the volume was there. He got 21 carries. It just didn't translate into production. Dallas has a good run defense. It's a different story with the Saints at home. I think the Eagles lean on the run a little bit more today without Lane Johnson at home with a backup quarterback. I think I'm going Sanders, Chris. I think I'm going Sanders. Chark is probably a safe floor play today, but Sanders has a little bit more, for me, a little bit more upside. Like, the volume was there last week with Gardner Minshew in. He had 21 carries. He's probably a safe bet for another 20 opportunities today. I'll take Sanders. I'll take what I think is a little bit more guaranteed volume, especially with a backup quarterback in for the Eagles, and they're down their starting right tackle. I would think they run the ball a little bit more today. Take some pressure off of the backup right tackle as far as having to pass block, potentially against Cam Jordan. I'll take Sanders, Chris. And as far as the Chiefs or the Giants defense is my favorite stream this week. The Chiefs are probably safer. The Chiefs are probably safer, but the Giants are playing a dead Colts team that is going to be led by Nick Foles, a broken offensive line, an uninspiring run game. Like, there are so few things to like about the Colts offense right now. It's Michael Pittman, and that's it. And we've seen his floor. It's 4 or 5 points. The Giants are looking to lock up a playoff berth. They are at home. They are playing a dead, dormant, looking to get to the golf course as soon as possible Indianapolis Colts team. I would play the Giants. The Giants are my favorite stream this week. Giants are my favorite stream this week. The Chiefs are safe. The Chiefs are safe. The Giants are set up well today. I'll just say that their situation, their defense at home against that offense is set up well today. Whereas the Chiefs do have a vulnerability that was exploited by the Broncos by Jerry Jeudy not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. We've seen the Chiefs get exploited in the secondary. The Giants, I think, are a little bit better on the back end. And yeah, talk to your commissioner. I encourage everybody, talk to your commissioners. Get more opportunities for payouts in your league. Yeah. If you've scored the most points in the regular season, you had a good year. I don't care where you finished. I don't care if you missed the playoffs. You had a good season. You just were unlucky. If you scored the most points, I don't know. I personally think there should be a payout for that. And the proof is in the pudding, because you do get payouts in the leagues that I commission if you score the most points. Yeah, talk to those commissioners. Get a few more payout opportunities in there. Does Evans go over 55 yards today? I would take that, Tim. I would take that. He's been pretty good at home today, or he's been pretty good at home this year. It just hasn't translated in the form of scores. If it's going to change today, or if it's going to change today, is as good a day as ever. It's a good matchup for the Bucks passing offense. J.C. Horn is out. Evans has been pretty solid at home this year. Go ahead and go back and look at his home splits. He's been pretty solid at home this year. It just hasn't translated in the form of touchdowns. That could change today. It's a good matchup. The Bucks are playing to hold off the Panthers for the division crown. I would take that bet. What's going on, Iron? Happy New Year. And yeah, yesterday was a spectacular day for college football. Quentin Johnson looks like a stud. That Ohio State-Georgia game was spectacular. Ryan Day proved, no offense to any Buckeyes fans, I think Ryan Day is kind of an overrated head coach. He absolutely blundered away that last possession after the Stroud scramble and run to get them to like the 33-ish yard line, and then running that stupid run play. Like, what are you doing there? You have CJ Stroud. You have the guy who's probably, or should probably, be the number 1 overall pick, and you're trying to like get cute and just get closer for what's still going to be a long field goal. Like, he blew that. I'm sorry. They still had 2 timeouts. Like, what are you doing? Don't run the ball. You need to get, if you're going to kick a field goal in college, that shit better be from 30 yards out, not 49. When the stakes are that high. Like, I think Ryan Day's kind of a dope. But spectacular college football day. Speaking of studs, Marvin Harrison Jr. is also a stud. I know he may have not seen the rest of the game after that targeting hit or targeting call. But he had like 100 yards and 2 scores by the second quarter. Watch out for him in 2024. Carlson or Patterson at kicker this week? This is where I'm going to go Patterson. If there's one guy on the Raiders offense that I would suggest pivoting off of, it's probably the kicker. It's probably Carlson. Yeah, you got to fire up Josh Jacobs. You got to fire up Devontae Adams and just hope for volume. You got to hope for volume. But scoring opportunities might be few and far between. I would pass on Carlson. I'll take Patterson. He has scored double-digit points in 3 straight weeks. I'll take Patterson. I'll take Patterson. Iron, you can throw your thoughts about the Zombie League final in here. If Xavier's in here as well, he can do that too. Uh, Fant or Komet? I guess I'll say Komet. He had a big game against the Lions the last time these two teams linked up. He's the clear number one target for the Bears. The matchup against the Jets isn't too scary for Fant, and he has been pretty good. But I guess Komet's got some decent upside going against the Lions, who he torched for a pretty big game not too long ago. I guess I'll say Komet. Do I think Lawrence runs today? I don't know that I would bank on that one, Tim. I mean, in a vet, sure he might, but like with these quarterbacks, it's like it's highly volatile. Pittman or Kirk? I'll go Kirk. I'll go Kirk. It's not a great matchup by the numbers, but at least Kirk has Trevor Lawrence. Pittman is down to Nick Foles. Um, I love Nick Foles, but he's only good when he's on the Eagles. He was terrible last week. I can't trust Pittman. I'll take Kirk, and I'll take Kirk over Dortch as well. Crumbly heads. I think I got to that one. I think Koo is your safe play at kicker. Falk might have a little bit more. He's a little bit more volatile, but he should be fine as well. But Koo in the dome this year has been pretty solid. Alex, Happy New Year, Alex. Your flex in full PPR: Kirk, Zay Jones, Pittman, Lockett, Swift, or Sanders. You're starting Lawrence. If you're starting Lawrence, that Kirk stack is pretty appealing. It's pretty enticing. Those running backs should be fine. I guess Sanders is your safe play. Kirk is your upside play. That's, I think, where I would go, Alex. Sanders is your safe play. If you think you need to swing for a little bit more upside, then go with the Lawrence Kirk stack and hope for the best, especially in full PPR. Hope he gets a little bit of volume. Sanders is your safe play. And at kicker, Bass and McPherson are both enticing because of the potential shootout on Monday night. There's also, I would expect, an enhanced and increased probability that those teams go for it on fourth down. I might actually go Koo at home in the dome. He's been pretty solid at home this year. Koo has. He likes kicking in that dome in Atlanta. There's nothing scary about the matchup against Arizona. They're a dead team waiting to get to the offseason. The Falcons are too, but the Falcons are in young player evaluation mode, so they have a little bit more probably, I would think, motivation than Arizona does, top to bottom. I think I'll take Koo at home in the dome. I don't know what the weather conditions are in Cincinnati tomorrow night. I can check that right now. I mean, both guys are good. Bass is good. McPherson's been a little bit up and down recently. But both have been solid in, delivering this year. They're both good kickers attached to good offenses, but you could see a scenario where they're kind of going for it more often than not on fourth down tomorrow night in what could be a shootout. And there's expected to be some rain. While I'm not super concerned about rain when it comes to kickers, why even chance it? Why even bother? You know for a fact Koo has no conditions to worry about kicking in the dome. I'll say Koo as your kicker. I'll say Koo. Kevin Martin, what's going on, Kevin? Half PPR, Garrett Wilson or Travis Etienne? Etienne. Houston gives up the most points to opposing running backs, and Seattle is a bottom 3 matchup for opposing wide receivers. That's what it comes down to for me. Look at some recent wide receiver performances against the Seahawks. It's bad. I'll take Etienne in the best matchup he'll have this season. That any running back will have this season. Houston's not good at stopping the run. They're not good at stopping running backs in general. I'll take ETN. Corey Ortiz, what's going on, Corey? Marquise Brown or Richie James? I guess I'll go Richie James here. If it's Marquise Brown or Greg Dortch, then Marquise Brown. At least, if your options are the two dudes on the same team catching passes from a fourth string quarterback, then take the guy that we expect to be the number one. But if you can pivot off, at least Richie James is a starter and Daniel Jones is I would, between Daniel Jones and David Blau, I'll take Daniel Jones. And I'll take one of his starting receivers, again, in a matchup where the Giants can clinch a playoff berth against a bad team at home. Give me the player on the team playing for something. Yeah, I'll take Richie James. Kenneth, Dortch or Dubs? Do we have anything on Christian Watson yet? I haven't seen anything from Underdog or Sleeper. The Packers are hoping he can play. This is starting to feel a little dicey. Man, this is starting to get a little dicey. I think I'd go Dubs, Kenneth. I think I go Dubs even if Christian Watson plays because he might be limited by this hip injury. He might be limited by this hip injury. I might just go Dubs. At least he's catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, and it's a spectacular matchup. The Vikings give up so many points in the secondary. I think I go Dubs. Conklin over Andrews? I might. God damn, I might, Crumply Heads. I might. If that's how bad, like, Andrews is in such a rut right now. And again, he has never scored against Pittsburgh in his career. He has never scored against Pittsburgh. I mean, sure, if you want a boring play for 3 catches for 40 yards, like, that's where we're at with Mark Andrews right now. That's where we're at. At least Conklin has a great matchup. I mean, maybe. I don't know if I can definitively say yes because that is falling pretty far, but I did say anybody but Andrews. It's hard to trust him this week. He's a boring floor play. What did he do the last time they played the Steelers? He's never scored, I'll tell you that much. He didn't score. 2 catches for 17 yards. Woof. Now he's at home. So maybe that's a little bit better. But this is a guy like Mark Andrews hasn't scored since week 6. Now it's a backup quarterback. He hasn't cleared 50 yards receiving in 3 straight weeks, including in a really good matchup last week against Atlanta, only 3 for 45. Man, Conklin is volatile too, but at this point, Mark Andrews is just like he's a stream at hope. Conklin had the same stats as him last week, or his fantasy production. Andrews had 3 for 45. Conklin had 4 for 34. So 1 more catch, 11 fewer yards, damn near the same thing. And Seattle gives up lots of points to tight ends this year. You might want to stream Conklin. That's how bad it is. That's how down bad we are with Mark Andrews, man. That's how bad down bad we are with Mark Andrews. It is not good. Do the Colts get 2 field goals today? I mean, sure. Can an NFL offense get 6 points in a vacuum? Yeah, they should. I guess they should. But they only got 1 at home last week. So, yeah, bet on the Colts scoring points at your own risk, you know? And Crumbly Heads, I'll go Komet of those options because at least it's a good, he is the number 1 option in the passing game. Fant has been pretty solid, but Tyler Lockett is going to play today. Obviously, DK Metcalf is in, although DK Metcalf is probably going to see Sauce Gardner. You have to fire up DK Metcalf today, but you might have to temper expectations. but you have to fire him up. I'll take Komet of those options, Crumply Heads. And Komet definitively over somebody like Mark Andrews. That's how down bad we are with Mark Andrews. Hunter, Chargers or Eagles? I'll take the Eagles. They're the better team. They're the better unit. And Derwin James is out. The Eagles are at home, looking to lock up the 1 seed. They're playing an inferior opponent. I'll take the Eagles defense. Against Andy Dalton, leading the league in sacks, I'll take the Eagles. Gano or Elliott? I feel like Jake Elliott has been kind of blah this year. He was fine last week, but that was because the Eagles were scoring a ton of points. In home games this year, 5, 12, 3, 5, 10, 5. That was a rainy game. I remember that. And 6. Elliott's kind of. I think I might just go for the upside and go Gano. I might just swing for the upside and go Gano. Now, to Elliott's credit, I guess a lot of the reasons his low outputs this year because the Eagles have been so good actually scoring touchdowns. They're converting all of their opportunities into actual touchdowns. They're not settling for field goals a lot this year. Maybe they do a little bit more with Minshew in there, with the backup quarterback in there, but I'll take Gano at home. He's been a little bit more reliable than Elliott this year. He's been a little bit more volatile, but he's also been, for the most part, he's been safer. For the most part, he's been safer. Murray or Singletary? I'll take Singletary. I don't think that's not a good matchup against the Bengals' run defense, but I just like rolling the dice on guys attached to good offenses. And the Bills are looking to wrap up the 1 seed. I know Zach Moss is no longer on the team. James Cook has been heavily involved recently, but Singletary's coming off a 100-yard rushing performance. Still getting double-digit opportunities in nearly every game, especially over the past 2 months. I'll take Singletary. Give me the guy attached to Josh Allen on an offense that's still playing for something. I'll take Singletary. As far as Rodgers, Wilson, or Minshew, I'm taking Minshew. I'll take Minshew. Rodgers has been better with the emergence of Christian Watson, and it is a great matchup. But his ceiling this year, I think, is like 20, 21 points. Minshew did better than that in one game last week. Rodgers' high watermark this year is like 20, 21 fantasy points, maybe 22 fantasy points. Minshew, I think, had 26 just last week. And Russ is, I can't advocate for Russell Wilson. Can't do it. I'll take Minshew. Greg, what's going on, Greg? And Happy New Year to you as well. You need an RB2 and a flex. Pacheco, Dylan, Murray, Lenny, Algier, Foreman, Gabe Davis, and Rashad White. I think I would go. Dylan's enticing today against the Vikings. These are all really good options. Yeah, I guess Algier and Fournette are fine. Like Pacheco's a good option. Dylan is a good option. But they've been, Pacheco's a floor play recently, and Dylan has been coming through, but he could go right back to being second fiddle to Aaron Jones any given week. And Aaron Jones is off the injury report. Has been for a couple days now. Algier and Fournette should be fine. Algier has surpassed Cordell Patterson as the guy that they're giving most of the work to, and Fournette continues to see a ton of opportunities. I'll take Algier and Fournette is fine, Greg. They're fine. Um, Pacheco just cedes so much work to McKinnon, and you could say the same about Dillon with Aaron Jones. I think Algier and Fournette are the front runners of these guys to see the most work. I'll take those two. Yeah, I'll take those two. Derek, no problem. Yes, good luck to everybody today. Everybody who's competing for a championship. Uh, I don't want to. Cooks is too volatile, Greg. It just hasn't. It's been a lost season for Cooks. I know he had a good week last week, but he hasn't been reliable. It's been way too up and down, and it's been more down than up by a lot. Um, Jags or Chargers defense. Jacksonville is playing Houston, which is a spectacular matchup. And they've been pretty good the past few weeks. Whereas the Chargers they get the Rams today in kind of like a neutral situation. They exploded against Indianapolis last week, but again, who doesn't? I think Jacksonville's a little safer actually, Tim, because the Chargers don't have Derwin James. I'll take the Jags against Houston. Yep. And yeah, Greg, I think you're fine going Algier. He's on a bit of a run recently. He is the guy now for Atlanta. I'll take Algier and Fournette. I think those are good. I think those are good. Yep. Let's see. Sorry, I just lost my place. Where are we here? Okay, Tim, you got your parlay. The Crosby one looks fine. Evans looks fine. Looks like they tacked on a few extra yards, but to me, that's a good sign. Like Vegas is now they like Evans today. Patterson is that should be fine. That should be fine. The Trevor Lawrence is playing very well recently. He should have that offense in scoring position more than a couple times today. Uh, I would take Koo over instead of Elliott. If you want to tack on one more, I would take Koo. Koo's been kicking field goals at home this year. I like Koo in the dome today. We have to remember most of those games were with Marcus Mariota, but still, I mean, not Ritter's been better, but he's still a third round rookie that's still taking his lumps. I think they're a safe bet to stall out a couple of times. Yeah, I'll take Koo. I'll take the Koo over. Alex, no problem. So Tober, I would play Devontae Smith over Christian Kirk. It's a better matchup, and Smith is on an absolute heater. Like, look at his past 6 or 7 weeks. He's on a tear. And Marshawn Lattimore is back today. I would think he sees A.J. Brown. I'll take Devontae Smith. Much better matchup, and he is on fire. He's on absolute fire. Yeah, I'm all in on Devontae Smith today. All in. Let's see. TB, Dobbins or Dortch in full PPR. This is closer than you would think. This is closer than you would think. I know he had a really good game last week with Trace McSorley. We can't sit here and definitively say he's going to get the same usage with David Blau, right? It's possible with DeAndre Hopkins out of the lineup. I'll say TB. This kind of depends on what you need. Your floor play is Dobbins. Your floor play, your safe play is Dobbins. If you think you can get away with a safe play, you're hoping for 10 points, then Dobbins. Dortch is your ceiling play. He might get you 15. David Blau might peter out on the road, might crash and burn, and Dortch had 2 catches for 10 yards. The range of outcomes for Greg Dortch today is all over the place. We've not seen him with David Blau. His opportunities should go up without DeAndre Hopkins, but it's a fourth string quarterback on the road. The range of outcomes is wild today. Dobbins is your safe floor play. Dortch is your upside all or nothing play. So if you feel like you're an underdog and you need to swing for the fences, then maybe you want to take a chance on Dortch. Otherwise, I would maybe say just play it safe with Dobbins at home. Crumbly heads between Chark, Hollywood, or Slayton. What's Slayton done recently? Been pretty consistent. He had a couple of bad games, weeks 14 and 15, but those were division games. Um, hmm, that's a tough call. I might go. I mean, Slayton might be your safe play at home. Dead Colts team. Giants looking to clinch a playoff berth. Or I guess might be able to say the same thing about the Lions. Actually, I'm just double checking. I guess the Lions are in a similar spot as the Giants. It's either Chark or Slayton. Like I'm pivoting off of Cardinals wide receivers if I have alternative options that are even in decent scenarios. Um, Lions are further back than the Giants, but they're still in similar situations. They're both looking to stay alive. The Giants, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they can clinch a playoff berth today. The Lions are just fighting to stay alive. So they're both mathematically still in it. Yeah. I'll go Slayton. Chark is not the number one wide receiver. It's Amon Ra. DeAndre Swift will probably mix in. I don't know. Well, maybe we see a little bit more Jamison Williams this week. I'll take Slayton, Crumply heads. As long as the weather's not bad in East Rutherford, I guess I should confirm that as well. Let me just double check the weather. For your what's it going to be like in New Jersey today? Come on, weather.com. Let's go. Pick up the pace. As long as it's not too windy, I would probably just go Slayton. There it goes. About time. Wow. 14 mile per hour winds. Of course. That's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's about on the cusp of where you start to, you know, have a little bit of concern about the weather. I guess I would still say Slayton, Crumply heads. At least we know he's the team's wide receiver one. Um, Tim, for ETN, I'd probably take that receiving yardage prop because that could be one catch for ETN. That's probably where I would go. That's probably where I would go. And Crumbly heads, I said Singletary over Murray. He continues to get double-digit opportunities, and he's attached to the much better offense that is actually playing for something. If the Broncos get boat raced by the Chiefs, like does Murray get phased out? I mean, he might still be involved, but I'll take Singletary in what should be a shootout between the Bills and the Bengals. He's still gets 12, 13 rushing attempts a game with opportunities in the receiving department. It's not a great matchup by the numbers, but when you have Josh Allen, you can kind of throw those things out the window a little bit more. I'll take Singletary and the opportunities that he's getting attached to that awesome offense. Yeah, I'll take Singletary. TB, you're welcome. I mean, looks pretty good. Looks like a pretty good. Looks pretty good options to lean on. So hopefully, let's get this win. Let's get these championships, right? Stack Attack, what's going on, Stack Attack? Fields or Goff? I'll take Fields. The upside is just higher. The rushing upside. I don't think there's anything scary about the matchup. Um, I know he bottomed out last week against the Bills. The Bills are a different animal of a team, but he's delivered even in bad matchups before. The Lions are actually the most favorable matchup for quarterbacks for fantasy this year. Give me Fields. Give me Fields over Goff. Goff's been good at home, but I'll roll the dice on Fields' upside. I'll roll the dice on Fields' upside. Yeah. Tim, good luck. Yeah, probably. I know that these decisions are annoying. These decisions are annoying. If you prefer the ideal conditions, then you can go Chark. But I would, despite the 15-mile-per-hour winds, I might actually lean Slayton because at least I know he's the team's number one option. Itty bitty South City. Thank you so much for the super. Much appreciated. And of course, happy to help out. Happy to help everybody out this year. Hopefully, we gave more good advice than bad advice. Um, Obviously, what we want to do is help you guys get to this point, have an opportunity to play for a championship or at least some type of payout. If it's a third place game or whatever, you can't win it every year, but we want to. The idea is to help people win as much as possible. Um, so appreciate that. Happy to help out. As far as stacking all of those guys, no, I want to play Devonte Smith. I really like Judy. Judy should be fine. He did great in this matchup against the Chiefs just a few weeks ago. And if I could find a way to get him into my lineup, I would. But I'm playing Devonte Smith over him um, with Cortland Sutton back. Dulcich is out for the Broncos, so a few more targets still available for Judy in a great matchup. But Devonte Smith is on an absolute tear recently. Okay, you have Judy in there already over. Well, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with what you have. It's not a bad idea to stack all those guys. Um, Again, the Eagles are playing to lock up the 1 seed today. They are motivated to go out there against an inferior opponent and handle their business at home. I think that's a perfectly fine stack. I think you're okay, with a bunch of Eagles in there. Um, they've been good this year. They're good on offense. Minshew was pretty solid last week. He had a few turnovers, but he buoyed it with 300 plus passing yards. I think he had 3 total touchdowns. You're fine. You're fine with all those. You're good. And yeah, Judy over Watson, especially with Watson on the injury report. I don't even know. Have we received any confirmation about Watson with 20 minutes to go before kickoff? Like, I know he was still testing things in pregame warmups. Not seeing anything new. Where are we at today, Christian Watson? What do you have going on? He's still questionable. There's still nothing new, man. Yeah, I would not risk it with Christian Watson, so that's fine. That's fine. Higby over Andrews? Yeah, I would do Higby over Andrews. I would. It is so bad with Mark Andrews right now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pivoting off of Andrews wherever I can. Yep, I would be pivoting off Andrews anywhere I can. And Crumbly, as far as I mean, okay, so you have a guy going against your defense. I don't want to play Mark Andrews though, just because of that, and get a two catch 20-yard performance because he's been on such a bad stretch. And again, he doesn't do well for his career against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has handled Mark Andrews thus far in his career. And with a backup quarterback, I yeah, I worry. I worry about that situation. I think Higby's fine. We're not expecting two touchdowns, but I think he should be fine. Eli, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's really volatile. It's really dicey for Watson. I would not. I would be unless you have no other choice. If your alternative is like Greg Dortch and Christian Watson is confirmed active, you might just want to roll the dice on Watson's upside. But it's starting to feel really dicey. Like this close to kickoff, and we still don't even know if he's going to play. And then, of course, yeah, is he on a pitch count? Plus, the Packers are on life support. Their season is they like if they lose, they're done. If they lose, they're out. They are out of the playoff race. So they need whatever Watson can give them today. So yeah, but it might not be that much. Might not be much of what what he can provide. So yeah, it's fine to pivot off of Watson this close to kickoff or this close. Yeah, given this game time call and everything. Coopermans, what's going on, Coopermans? In the flex in full PPR, Ayuk, Foreman, Lazard, Pittman. I think I'll go Ayuk here in full PPR. Good matchup against Vegas. Debo Samuel is out once again. He brings big play potential to the offense. Like Pittman, I'm off of. Foreman is intriguing, but it is a bad matchup on the road. It's a bad matchup on the road. Lazard has been Lazard's been decent recently, but he has kind of bottomed out here. I guess he gets a bit of a boost if Christian Watson is out. Um, Ayuk's ceiling is higher. Ayuk's ceiling is higher. His floor might be higher too. I'll go Ayuk in full PPR with no Debo Samuel. I'll go Ayuk against Vegas, who is they're done. Um, I'll take Ayuk. Um, yeah. Plus the 49ers, like there's you know I know the Packers are still playing for something, but like sometimes a tiebreaker for me is just like I want to play with guys on I want to play guys that are on good teams that are still playing for something. The 49ers can still they are still technically mathematically alive. Well, we'll see what happens if the Eagles win today, then they're not alive for the 1 seed, but they are alive still for the 2 seed. They could still leapfrog the Vikings. They could still leapfrog the Vikings. I'll take Ayuk in full PPR. Yep. And between Zach Moss or Zonovan Knight, oi. Where, like, I feel like Zonovan Knight kind of crashed back to earth. It's a spectacular matchup for him. Uh, I mean, because he has Mike White back, I guess that's good for Zonovan Knight. I don't think I can trust Zach Moss today against the Giants. I guess he should. I I guess Moss is the guy who's is a safer bet to get more opportunities. He's been a little bit more reliable recently, but those were in top 10 matchups. The Giants are a gettable matchup on the ground as well. I guess between those two itty bitty, I guess I'll go Zach Moss. I guess I'll go Zach Moss. Yeah. Yeah. I'll take Moss overnight. Greg, let's see. As far as your kickers, is Youngwei Koo out there? Is Youngwei Koo out there? I like him at home today in the dome. If not, I guess Bass. I guess of these options, but again, the Bills might be more likely tomorrow night to go for it on fourth down a little bit more frequently, just in what is a potential shootout. So he's a little bit more volatile. If Koo is not available, if he is, I would suggest Koo. If not, then maybe just go Robbie Gold. He's been pretty solid recently. He's been pretty solid recently. If Koo's not available, I guess I would go Gold, Greg. As far as Brian Robinson, man, you might want to get him in there. He's playing Cleveland. He's playing Cleveland, and it's a spectacular matchup, and there's no Antonio Gibson. You might want to get him in there over Fournette. That's a tough call. Just checking Brian Robinson's recent numbers. I guess maybe I don't know if I can bring myself to do that. I guess I don't know if I can bring myself to do that. I would probably just keep the guys in there that you have, Greg. There's lots of really good options. Lots of really good plays. As far as Waller or Komet, uh, probably Komet. Probably Komet. Waller's been okay since his return, but he's only got 8 targets the past 2 weeks. I just don't know what that's going to look like with Stidham. Like Devonte Adams, for me, that's a little different story. Josh Jacobs, a little different story. Waller might get you 4 for 50. I would probably prefer. I feel like I'll roll the dice on Komet's upside as the number one option in a much better matchup. I think I might roll the dice on Komet. What's happening, Xavier? Um, so of these options, I would not play Knight, and I know we kind of talked. I know we kind of talked through this in the Discord. Um, Pacheco is your floor play. Pacheco's your floor play. Chark and Richie James are in similar situations. They're in similar spots. It's like a coin flip between those two. I originally thought Chark. It's just he's been delivering. Like 4 of his past 5 games he's hit double-digit fantasy points in full PPR. Um, it's not a great matchup for either Chark or Richie James. That's like a true coin flip. I guess I said, so I think it was Crumply had said asked Slayton or Chark earlier, and I said Slayton because I'm pretty sure Slayton's the wide receiver one. I guess here is where I'll go Chark. The difference being Chark's in a dome. Chark doesn't have any conditions to worry about, and there are 15-mile-per-hour winds or so blowing around in MetLife Stadium right now. So I guess I'll say Chark. And for kicker, I'll take Patterson. For the kicker, I'll take Patterson. He's got double-digit fantasy points 3 straight weeks. Yeah. Chris Edwards, what's going on? Goff or Fields? I'm playing Fields. What is? Oh, you corrected to PPR league. Fields. Play the guy with all the upside in the world, like all the rushing upside. He's delivered even in bad matchups. Um, I'll play. I'm play. I know he bottomed out last week against the Bills. That's a different animal. The Bills are a good defense. They're a good team in general. The Lions are giving up the most points to quarterbacks this year. I'll play Fields. Does Panera does have double digit? Oh, he does. The different. I mean, on the road though, against Tampa, which is not a good matchup, Xavier. I think I lean. I think I still lean Patterson there. On the road in a bad matchup, I feel a little less good about Pinero. And look, if you're worried about Shark, then go Richie James. I guess I'm a little, you know, I guess the tier break there's it's a coin flip. It's really close. It's really close. I guess the difference here is, you know, one is playing in a dome, one is playing like the 15-mile-per-hour winds is not like a it's not a super serious thing to worry about, but I just wanted to call it out. If you like Richie James's prospects more, and again, Richie has been delivering too. They've both been pretty good the past month or so of the season. Um, if you prefer Richie James, then go Richie James. I don't think that's a bad. I'm not like definitively against Richie James. I guess I would slightly lean Chark because of the dome, but that's just me. If you are sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, I'd rather plug in Richie James, then plug in Richie James. Yeah. Astro, Akers or Walker? Holy hell. Um, Akers is on a tear recently, and I know we only got a few minutes left to kick off. So try to make this quick. Akers has been really good recently, and it's another good matchup against the Chargers. Walker, I know, has a tougher matchup today against the Jets. He's on the injury report with an ankle injury. Pete Carroll says he's good to go, but he is still on the injury report. Um, I guess I lean Akers. Astro, I guess I lean Akers. The matchup is much better, and he's been a little bit better. The matchup is better for Akers, and Akers himself has been a little bit better recently than Walker. And Walker's on the injury. Pete Carroll says he's fine, but he's still on the injury report with the ankle injury. I'll take Akers. I'll take Akers. And yeah, Happy New Year. Let's get these championships. Like Stack Attack said, I don't think I missed anything. If you guys have any, we got 5 minutes left to kick off. Keenan Allen or Garrett Allen. Play Keenan Allen. I wouldn't play Garrett Wilson against that Seahawks secondary. And Keenan Allen's been on a pretty good stretch recently. Play your wide receiver one. Yeah, I would play Allen. Godwin or Akers? That makes it a little bit more interesting. I have a hard time sitting Chris Godwin. I would go Godwin and Akers if you can go Godwin and Akers. If you can go Godwin and Akers, I would do that. If you can only play one Astro, I would probably play Godwin. Give me the guy who's been a stud, who's been a wide receiver one in a great matchup on a team still playing for something. Godwin, then Akers, then Walker, in that order, Astro. All right. Then Dylan or Montgomery. I guess Dylan. The matchup is really bad against the Lions for Montgomery. I guess Dylan. It's close. Monty's the actual starter, and he should come. He should have plenty of volume to deliver. But Dylan's. I think Dylan's upside is a little higher. It's not as tough of a matchup, and Justin Fields is obviously a threat to vulture plenty of production and opportunities. So I'll take Dylan. It's close. It's really close, but I guess I'll take Dylan. Montgomery is a boring volume play. If you can play it safe, Dylan's got upside. A few minutes to kick off here. So obviously we are about to get championship week set. Best of luck to everybody. Let's bring these championships home. I might do a Tuesday stream as just like an opportunity for anybody who won, or even if you don't end up winning this week, if you want to just come in and shoot the shit for a little while. We are not going to have the same traditional slate of streams next week. With this being championship week, there's probably not too many people playing for anything in week 18, as you shouldn't be. Nobody should be having their week 18. Nobody should be having championships in week 18. It should all be on the line today. But might fire it up on Tuesday for a short stream just to talk shop and close up the season. But that being said, best of luck to everybody today. Greg, I would still probably go Daniel Jones. His upside has been higher. I know John mentioned yesterday on the stream that he would go Rodgers. I would go Daniel Jones. His upside has been better. Daniel Jones's upside has been better. That's where I'm at with that. It's been stronger. Daniel Jones's ceilings have been higher than Rodgers this year, and that's where I'll go. Plus he'll run. Yep. The slate is upon us. Best of luck, everybody. Let's bring these championships home. I'll fire something up on Tuesday to hopefully y'all can do some victory laps, talk about your wins this day or after today, and we'll go from there. Real last call. Packers or Jags? Go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't want to play a defense against the Vikings. They've been good this year. Jacksonville gets Houston. It's a much better matchup. I would grab Jacksonville and hope for the best. At least the matchup is really good against Houston. The Packers, yeah, they're at home, but it's against the Vikings. I don't want to mess around with that. I'll take Jacksonville. Get those lineups filled in. We got a minute to go. Get everybody locked in. Let's go win some championships today, guys. Good luck. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out. I'll fire up something on Tuesday. Hopefully a victory lap stream for everybody after we bring these championships home. Good luck. Enjoy the games. Happy New Year. We'll see you next week.